Good afternoon. Today we're talking about women veterans of San Antonio. And a little housekeeping before we go. This presentation is from the San Antonio Coalition of Veterans and Families. Our mission is the immediate assistance for homeless veterans. And please, you're doing us a great favor if you'll hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Our guest speaker today, someone I've had the pleasure of knowing for a while, Deb Parsons, the president of the Women Veterans of San Antonio. We have their contact information. I have their mission statement up. They do a wonderful job in the community. Deb's going to talk about this today and some of their events. So to get started, I'm going to get back to Deb. Deb, you were in the military. Tell us a
Correct.
little bit.
I was in the Air Force from 1993 to 2019, so just over 25 and a half years. Deployed all over, was stationed all over. I worked in the career field in the Air Force that included food service, fitness, lodging, mortuary, and readiness. So it was a very diverse career field. I also did time as a first sergeant. I did time as an instructor and as a superintendent of a squadron.
Oh my, okay. So you got out of the service and now you're involved with a service organization. How did that come to pass?
So, like a lot of people, when I retired, I was basically rudderless. Even though that's probably more of a Navy term, I had gone from being on a deployment to dealing with a Cat 5 hurricane in Florida to coming to San Antonio. So busy, 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 and then everything just stopped. And I really didn't have any direction. I just kind of slept and hung out at home and then I saw something online about Texas Women Veterans Day, and the Women Veterans of San Antonio was holding an event at Confluence Park. And I said, you know what, let me just go check it out. And as soon as I was there and meeting everybody, I realized, okay, this is a group I can get behind. So I started coming out more often, volunteering, coming to coffee socials, and most importantly, getting out of the house and being around my sister veterans that I could relate to. Because, we know as veterans, sometimes it can be very hard to relate to those who haven't served. And I definitely was struggling with that. And this kind of got me out of the house, back out in the community. And it's what I needed. I then, the next year, our founder, Robin Dublin, she founded the group back in 2013, realizing that once she was out of the Army, she was going to miss the camaraderie. So she started it as more of a social group, get-togethers, and then started volunteering, and then realizing there's truly a need in the community, especially for homeless women veterans, to get hygiene supplies. And that's something maybe a lot of people don't think about. But as a woman, we know they're very expensive. And if you can't access those very, very basic needs, that's terrible. And so they started collecting those and handing them out. And then it grew to, handing out more supplies, gift cards, etc., to women veterans. So when she moved back home, I said, I'll do whatever it takes to keep the group going, not knowing I was going to be nominated for president. But I did it for a couple years, and I've done it on and off based on, family situations and whatnot. And so here I am again serving as the president, which is an absolute honor.
And you do a number of events.
We do. So every year, except for this year, um, let me go back. Yes, we do a big Texas Women Veterans Day event every year where we bring together resources for women veterans, DJ, swag bags, entertainment, and we all have a great time. We do monthly coffee meetups just to get out of the house and socialize with our sister veterans. We do volunteer events such as Soldiers Angels, their food distribution that they do once a month. That is a pretty important one. And we also hand out supplies at different veteran events. So, for example, every year right before Veterans Day, the GI Forum, the National Veteran Outreach Program, has a big stand down specific to women veterans, and we hand out backpacks of supplies as well as undergarments where the women can pick the size undergarments they might need. Again, just, basic necessities. And we also support other organizations when they host these type of events as well, just to get the needed supplies out to the women veterans and also to talk to them, to say, hey, listen, you are not alone. We're all in this together, and just to try to be a sounding board.
Now, how does a person kind of test the waters to see if they want to be a member of your group?
So, what they would do is go to Meetup and look up the name of our group, Women Veterans of San Antonio. And the first 3 months is free. After that, it is $25 a year. We do pay for a storage space for our hygiene supplies and a website and a post office box and different events that we do for members only. So, for example, we have a big holiday party every year and it's a members only, and we make sure everybody leaves with gifts and swag bags and just a festive spirit.
Okay. Uh, what's in your mind, what's the big takeaway, not just for a woman, but for any veteran to be a member of a veteran-oriented group?
I feel it's so important. And there's so many veteran groups. I mean, it doesn't matter what your interest is. It could be, gaming. There's groups that do gaming and fitness and hikes and just socializing and volunteering. And it's just important to be around your peers because again, nobody is going to understand what we went through besides a fellow veteran, or in our case, a fellow woman veteran. It's so important. It's too easy to just sit in the house and kind of mope, and I don't want to be around people. But it's different when you're around your own people. And the friendships that you build, just like in the military, are enduring. And that's really critical because we tend to miss that when we leave the military. We're such a tight brother and sisterhood. And then you're kind of let loose. And in my case, I went from high school straight in the military. And I didn't know who I was outside of the military. But being around other sister veterans, opened my eyes to that. Okay, I'm not alone. Everybody's going through this, and people can give advice. And it really makes it a world of difference.
Okay. Um, does your group help your members navigate the VA? Sort of, we're in a world where we're concerned about benefits, where
Mhm.
we're concerned about healthcare. You have camaraderie. Can you help steer people in the right direction?
We can. So while we may not be the experts, we know the people that are. So, and that goes with any of the resources, of which there are so many in Military City, USA. And we can just help get folks directed to the right resources because it can be very overwhelming. And, I love this about Military City, USA. There's so many individuals and groups that are here to support veterans. But if you're first coming into this world, it can be overwhelming. And so we can kind of give guidance on, okay, if you need help with a utility bill, here's some organizations that can help. Or if you're handling food insecurity, which is really big, especially this year, here are some organizations that can take a load off and make sure you have food on your plate.
Wonderful. Any other thoughts?
So it is important specifically for women veterans to have a group of sister veterans that they can relate to. And especially when you look at the statistics, homelessness is rising among women veterans. And matter of fact, single mother women veterans are one of the fastest growing groups, as well as older veterans in general. And people may not think about some of the hurdles that these women are going through. They've served their country, they've deployed, they've done everything right alongside their brothers. They come back and maybe they're a single parent and it's hard to hold down a job and keep a roof over your head and be there for the kids' appointments, and it's a lot of juggling. It's just really important that that message gets out there. And suicide rates are women veterans are a fast growing population when it comes to suicide rates, and one is too many, much less 22 a day being too many. But when it comes to homelessness, 1 in 10 veterans will experience homelessness. And the trick is, as veterans in general, we don't like to ask for help. And we might not think that we're actually homeless. But if you do not have a permanent roof over your head, maybe you're staying with friends, relatives, cars, bouncing around, you're homeless and there are resources to help with that. And then just by the mere, threat of being homeless or actually being homeless, the suicide rates are 110.2% higher for these individuals. And that's such a sobering statistic. You look at our economy right now and the lack of affordable housing, food prices going up, and there's so many male and women veterans that are struggling right now. It's just important to recognize that. And, even if you're not a veteran and you're watching this, maybe you know someone, and this might jog in your mind, you know what? I think I know somebody that could use some assistance. And they raised their right hand and they served our country and they took that vow. Let's see if we can make sure they're taken care of because veterans should not be on the streets. Veterans, we've been through so much, and to lose so many veterans because they feel there's no hope, it's a real problem right now.
Certainly, and certainly the coalition is dedicated to that. You bring up some interesting numbers. Bexar County is the leading county in Texas for women veterans. So,
Absolutely is. And Texas as a state, as a whole, has the most women veterans
yeah,
of any state. And San Antonio and Bexar County has the most women veterans in Texas. A
yeah,
lot of us stay here after we separate or retire, or in my case, I always knew I wanted to come back to San Antonio after being stationed here. So a lot of us end up here in Military City, USA. We just probably need some more resources and focus on the needs. And there are groups that do this. So Texas Veterans Commission, we have a working group right now to address the unmet needs specific to women veterans. And it's stuff like food insecurity, affordable housing, childcare. Because if you're a single mom and you have children and you can't afford childcare, you're not able to work and you're not able to keep that roof over your head, and it can be a downward spiral without the right assistance.
yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, check us out. We are very active in the community. We are not necessarily a mental health type of organization or MST. We don't focus on that because there's so many qualified and amazing organizations out there that focus on that. But what we do is we get you out of the house. We get you volunteering, which that is a big morale booster right there. Helping others is great. We get you out socializing. Maybe you don't know but anybody in town, or there's nobody that you go to a movie with or go to a coffee with. Well, we might be that fit for you. And even if we're not, we can share other groups that may be, and we all work together. So when I get a call that a woman veteran needs assistance, and if it's more than our organization can provide, because we are pretty small, I have all the contacts for all of the other organizations, and we can band together, and we do this on a frequent basis to help out our own.
Super, super. Uh, well, a wonderful group that does wonderful things in our community and worth going and checking out, even if it's just to dip your toe in and see if this is something you might do. Chances are you're going to find you like some of the stuff they do. Um, and as Deb has said, they network with other groups, can be the good starting point for a good future. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate this time to talk about our organization.
Our pleasure. Okay, we're going to call that a wrap.